Mary? Mary? It was quiet, gentle, almost a question. Mary? It wasn't the shock of the empty tomb that did it. Even though it didn't look like the site of a grave robbery, the burial clothes folded so neatly, everything in its place. Something happened here, but it probably wasn't what you assume, but it wasn't the sight of the empty tomb that did it. It wasn't the shine of the angels. You'd think you might stop in your tracks. You'd think that the presence of divine messengers might make it clear that whatever it is you think you know, whatever your expectations are, you might want to rethink them. Today is not going to go like that. But no, not even the sight of angels. Even Jesus. Not even the sight of Jesus meant resurrection to Mary. There in the flesh. Now, you know how when you know someone well, you know how they walk? You can see them across from a distance, and you can't even see their features, but just their silhouette and their gait and the way they hold themselves. Well, you know who that is. That's your friend. Mary knew Jesus that well. Mary knew him, but not even Jesus there in the flesh, standing the way he always did when he was waiting to talk to somebody. Not even the familiar tilt of his head, the way that he would do that when he was listening, waiting for a response, expecting engagement. None of that. Not even the familiar features did it for her. And even though he's standing there with the marks of the last 3 days on his wrists, on his feet, and just a ring around his head where they jammed that crown of thorns on. All of that very tangible evidence of who this is meant nothing, no recognition. Not the empty tomb, not the assertive angels, not her dear friend right in front of her. None of those connected to Mary. Because you see, Mary already knew. She knew everything there was to know about graveyards, right? She knew about tombs. She had come prepared. She knew what was going to be there. She was ready to finally have a chance to grieve, quietly, not in the midst of a yelling crowd. She had tended to Jesus and his followers with the other women for a long time, with resources and food and generosity. And now the only thing she has left to tend is this grave, and she's going to do it. She knows. This is the place where she knows she left Jesus. She went with him all the way. She knows. She was there when it happened. She stayed to the bitter end. She saw the violence that we can do to love incarnate in our midst. She knew what happened to Jesus. I suspect you know that we all know about graveyards, that we all know about death, heartbreak, hopes that have been smashed. We know what it's like to lose our faith, to have the weight of the world crush our little tiny sense of hope, to feel like there's nothing certain that we can hang on to, when we just need to be certain. With Mary, we know about graveyards. We joke, right? The only thing you can count on are death and taxes. So when we're sure that we know, like Mary, when we are fully prepared for the reality that is in front of us, we are blind, aren't we? When I'm sure that I know, it doesn't matter what is standing right in front of my face because my expectations are all the way over here already. It's impossible for us to see something new when we are sure that we know. But Mary, it was the voice. Quiet and gentle. That voice speaking her name, almost a question, Mary? That voice, she knew it. It was the one that was quiet and curious when other voices would get loud and judgmental really fast. Oh, Mary knew. She knew that voice. She knew that voice speaking her name where other people just called her one of those women that helps Jesus. That voice knew her name. Always called her by name. That voice always with a question to it. Mary? Looking for conversation, for engagement, wanting to connect. Mary? Now she can see. Now the whole world of what she thinks she knows is blown apart. Now resurrection has the possibility of being real. There is Jesus. But it didn't come with trumpets, did it? No offense, brass, I'm a brass player, but it didn't come with trumpets. It didn't come with crowds. It didn't come with processions. The shiny angels had no luck. The reality of resurrection didn't come from Mary figuring it out, even though there were some big fat dots to connect. It had nothing to do with certainty at all. Nothing to do with what she knew. Just that voice, Mary. A small encounter, just the two of them left. The quiet voice that knows her by name. Resurrection becomes a reality in our lives when our certainties are blown apart by that quiet word that comes. Jesus, who is God, speaking love to us beyond what we thought we knew. An awful lot of the time, it's over behind us, and we have to turn around to even see it. Resurrection is reality in Mary's life now, but it's nothing like she knew. It's nothing like before. Jesus is alive, but says, "Don't touch me." Before, she was the one to tend to Jesus' needs, to have the food and the tangible care that sometimes gets denigrated along with the people who do it. Now she is the first apostle, the first one that Jesus says, "Go and tell, I'm sending you. Go and tell them that nothing is the same." Through Lent, we've been sticking up pictures on our walls, snipping them out of the Bible, and pasting them up on the wall to remind ourselves that what we think we know about God is just the barest little beginning. All of these images for God are there in Scripture alongside the ones that we've come to know and love, Father, Creator, Shepherd, absolutely. But also in Scripture, also speaking to us, the mother, God as the mother teaching a child to walk, catching, wobbling, propping up. God as the stranger, showing up unannounced, making us uncomfortable. God as a party planner, God as a washerwoman, a rock flowing with water, again and again, when we think we know, when we are sure, we're going to find out that our faith is way too small. I've found myself compelled a couple of times as I listen to someone, usually it's someone ranting on the internet, about the God they do not believe in, who does this, and this, and I do not believe in that God. And so often I've said, well, neither do I. That doesn't sound anything like the God I know. But when we're so sure, and to be fair, it's probably Christians who were very sure that gave them that opinion and that picture of God. When we're so sure, sometimes we can't see what's right in front of our face. But this is the gift that Mary receives this morning that is promised us in baptism and as we live into this resurrection life that Jesus is inaugurating. My good friend says, every time I have lost my faith, he says, every time, the God who finds me is so much bigger than the one I thought I was hanging on to. Every time I think I've lost my grip, the one who's holding me, I find to be so much bigger. So I want to add one more picture to our wall today. Word. Our Gospel of John starts, this is the story, the end of the story of Jesus, or getting to it, but the story of Jesus in John begins, in the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Jesus is the sign that God has always been speaking to us, always choosing to connect and to relate and to engage with us. The prophet said, before they call, I will answer. Jesus is God's connection, communication, God speaking to us quietly. Mary? So in this season of Easter, this morning, in the days to come, our invitation is to listen for that word, our name, spoken in love. The risen Christ present and at work in the world, he's impossible to pin down. They tried it with nails. It didn't stick. They tried to roll a big stone. It didn't stay. He is not going to be anywhere we know we can find him. He's always speaking, always connecting, coming not so much with the trumpets and the angels, but quietly there beside us, waiting for us to be ready to hear his voice and to live. There's a poet, Jan Richardson, who has this beautiful moment for Holy Saturday. And as I read it, I thought it just captured Jesus waiting there behind Mary. Jesus waiting, the word, her name on his lips. And so listen to this as an invitation to hear your name. This blessing can wait as long as you can. Longer. This blessing began eons ago and knows the art of enduring. This blessing has passed through ages and generations, witnessed the turning of centuries, weathered the spiraling of history. This blessing is in no rush. This blessing will plant itself by your door. This blessing will keep vigil and chant prayers. This blessing will bring a friend for company. This blessing will pack a lunch and a thermos of coffee. This blessing will bide its sweet time until it hears the beginning of breath, the stirring of limbs, the stretching, reaching, rising of what had lain dead within you and is ready to return. Thanks be to God.